organise this event as part of International Women's Day because I think that too often women's rights activists, we focus too much on what we still have yet to achieve around pay gaps, around childcare, around the imbalance in both on boards and in politics. So because this year's theme for International Women's Day is called Make It Happen, I decided to invite in a range of speakers who've made it happen for them. So from trade union activist Tara Keane, who was one of the leading women involved in the Licenza campaign, who locked themselves into the underwear shop they'd worked in to ensure that they got their redundancy and wages that were owed to them. I also have Tina Dio from the Migrant Rights Centre, who came here when she was 17, was in forced labour and has since gone on to be a campaigner for women in similar circumstances to herself. I have Gemma, an investigative journalist who was sacked from the independent newspaper for doing her job, and she's going to be talking about how hard it is to make it happen as investigative journalism in Ireland when you go up against the establishment. And we've also got then Lynn, who's the current president of Trinity College Dublin, and she was an early school leaver and went back to education. And then as our token man, we have Niall Crowley he's an equality expert. He was the former head of the Equality Authority and resigned when its budget was cut by over 40%. So as you can see, it's a real broad panel, but I suppose very positive people, very empowering, inspirational speakers. And as I said, it's about looking at how far we have gone and what we have made happen, rather than this year focusing on what we still have to make happen.
So as I came here, I experienced exploitation in a private home as a domestic work. I came at the age of 17 and I worked 24/7. The promise that they gave me if I come here and study, I never get to attend school. It was kind of a tough situation or experience for me because I have no knowledge about, I have no experience and I've never studied about how to manage in that kind of, but I have to deal with that. I stayed there for over 3 years, and it was just too much for me. It was tough. I had hard situation because I have no contact with anybody. I don't know anyone. I don't know where to go to, and in terms of when I'm being exploited there, and I don't have a connection with my family, so it was really hard for me to go with that. And we set up a campaign of wanted the domestic workers who are working in a private home to be protected, because I wasn't protected. Nobody was aware of me. I was so invincible. Nobody knew where I am. So it was tough. We campaigned for that, for the protection, to make sure these women are being well protected and they're being treated equally as normal employees here in Ireland. Employees. So it was tough. We have to fight on it.
I suppose most of my work as an investigative journalist has been in the area of the criminal justice system, working in particular on cases of Garda corruption and with families who have been bereaved, who have lost loved ones in violent circumstances and who've been denied justice and the truth by not only the Gardaí but the Department of Justice, and I'm working at any given moment on about 10 of those cases, which are among the most horrific cases in the state. I suppose, I don't want to put a dampener on things, but you could argue that we're in a golden era for women in the field of justice. We have a Garda Commissioner who's a woman, Minister for Justice, State Pathologist. We have a DPP, an Attorney General and a Chief Justice, all of whom are women. But I haven't seen any change, and certainly, which is very disheartening. We're supposed to be in an era of accountability and transparency, but as a journalist, constantly asking questions of the Department of Justice and the Garda Press Office, more than ever, you hit a blue wall of silence when you ask questions that are in the public interest of the public, and families who are fighting for justice have a right to know